Hello, everyone. Let me introduce Audrey Teichmann, one of two curators at Audemars Piguet Contemporary, which is a philanthropic arm of the famed Swiss watch company. Since 2012, the company has commissioned 26 artworks and produced around 70 exhibitions of work by their commissioned artists. Audemars Piguet is one of several luxury brands that have ventured into the cultural domain. Rolex has a major arts program. Van Cleef & Arpels has recently begun to produce seasons of dance in Paris, London, New York. Dior and Chanel support the arts. So I suppose the first question for you, Audrey, is why are these companies doing it? What's really in it for them? It seems a particularly soft brand of publicity or promotion. And why is this kind of patronage happening now in a way it wasn't even, a decade or two ago?
Thank you for your question. Indeed, it's very important to wonder why you do that. And I think at the core of the answer is because we are makers, we love to observe makers. So if I start with what Audemars Piguet does, so we are a small watchmaking manufacturer, and everything is about the care and the craft you put in watches that we produce mainly, if not only by hand, after years of research and development. And being these makers naturally led us to want to support contemporary artists. Again, because we were very attracted to bringing new ideas to life and to see how this process happens. We also believe it can have a positive impact on the artist because we are supporters of their research in many ways. We are also challengers. We try to push the boundaries of their practice, and we are amplifiers. We try to give more visibility to their work. We believe that the consequence can be positive also on the audiences that get to see new questions being raised, to see newer horizons. And as a company, because we're a living organism, we feel also we are transformed by this journey of working together. And we love to be in that position of being curious, driven by critical thinking about the world we live in.
What about why it's happening now? Why do you think there's increasing patronage from these luxury brands?
It's hard to answer for the whole luxury industry, but what I can say within Audemars Piguet Contemporary, we've been working for 15 years, almost now, and because it takes so much time to work the way we do, it can't be just a momentum or a trend. For instance, between the first moment we have a conversation, the first conversation with an artist until the moment we work together, 7 years can pass. And I say 7 years specifically because that's what happened with Ryoji Ikeda. We had conversations that led years after to working together. And that very nature and that very time we need really implies for us to have a very long-term commitment.
How do you choose the artists? Do you have any restrictions or parameters? Are there sometimes projects where you think that doesn't suit our image or our brand?
Well, it's a very joyful experience to choose artists. It's like opening Christmas presents for us. But we take it with a very great sense of responsibility too. The process is the process any curator would follow within an institution. So it's about conversations with fellow curators, studio visits, we do that a lot. We travel a lot to meet and have conversations with artists. And there is no red thread. We are interested in many diverse positions, and we always consider new opportunities, new ways of thinking as opportunities for us to question ourselves.
Do you have a program? Is it like one artist a year, or do you do more than that? What's the rhythm of the commissions?
So we commission 2 to 3 artists a year, and what is important is that as curators, we follow the whole process from the very beginning of the idea until the exhibition, and it doesn't stop there, because we have the commitment to exhibit the work at least a second time. That's why you mentioned we've worked with 26 artists and developed 70 exhibitions. It's because it leads to more exhibitions than just the commission projects.
What about the curatorial input? How much influence, control, How much handover is there? Does the artist have complete freedom to do whatever he or she wants and to determine that level of curatorial input?
Yeah, I mean, we are curators, so we curate and we care. And I guess to answer your question, it's interesting maybe to go back to the process. So when we select an artist, the first question we raise is, what is your dream project? And everything begins there. The second question would be, how do you work? What do you need? And we adapt following their needs. And that's when we open our toolbox and we say, okay, of course we have a financial support, but we have a curatorial support because we are two curators. We do research. We also have...
Can you give me an example of something like that where you would have had some input into the
Yes,
development?
of course. For instance, working with Petri Talilai and Alvaro Urbano, because it was the first time they were working on music on the commission. We co-commissioned with TBA 21 Academy. We made a lot of research to see how our curated network of specialists could apply in their work and in their research, because it was a lot of firsts in that commission. And then we opened not only our books, but also our phone book of persons that could really bring their expertise in the commission.
You mentioned yesterday when we were talking that you found someone who made musical boxes.
Yes. Because it was the first time they were willing to be involved in really composing music for the commission, we thought, okay, because every time we work with an artist, we invite them to come to Le Brassus, where the manufacturer was founded 150 years ago. And when they come, it's an occasion to understand what we do. And because of these music interests, we thought, okay, why don't we go to the oldest music boxes manufacturer in the world, which is one of our neighbors. And it was like, I wouldn't say life-changing experience, but project-changing experience, because that's how they didn't not only understand the technicality of it, but also the range of possibilities you have to work with different materials, to compose a few different sounds. It was really interesting.
And you didn't answer earlier when I asked, are there restrictions or parameters on the projects? I mean, are there things that you would just not do?
I mean, we see that more from a curious standpoint. So we wouldn't call it a restriction, because maybe the fact we commission only 2 to 3 artists a year limits the possibilities, and we really focus on various practices that lead us to question ourselves. But we never think about restrictions, to be honest. Also, something I should mention is that we support the independence and autonomy of the artists in terms of determining the theme they will work on. So it doesn't limitate the conversation. They can work on anything, and that's really one of the key elements of the program.
Do you have is the budget dependent on the project, or is it?
No, it's an equitable
amount
budget for all of the artists we work with.
Which you don't state.
I'm sorry?
Which you don't state.
No, we don't.
Maybe could you talk us through a sort of concrete example of a commission,
yes,
like
course.
perhaps Meriem Bennani, who might be known to some people here because she had an exhibition recently after the one she did with you at the Prouder Foundation.
Yeah, you can see the work that we co-commissioned with the Highline. So the beginning of the conversation was in 2020. We were in the middle of the COVID situation, wondering when we would have the possibility to organize an exhibition again and to be able to experience physical, the materiality of an artwork. And because one of the members of the team lives in New York, we were naturally led to have a conversation with Cecilia Alemani, who we've known for many years, because they had still the commitment to exhibit artworks and to dedicate a program to the inhabitants of New York. And when we spoke together, we understood we had the same mission and same vision of commissioning as a supporting system. And this led also to conversations about artists we were interested in, and we discovered we were both very interested in Meriem Bennani. We'd been following her practice for a long time. And what was really the point is to invite a video artist mainly to do her first ever public sculpture. without a video element. So we were interested not only on the person, but also on the challenge it represented. And that's how Windy came to life. And for 1 year, it spinned, because it's a kinetic sculpture, and for 1 year it was spinning rain or shine on the High Line in New York. And we really love the take she took, because she answers to the movement of the city by movement. She questions what it is to create a more abstract sculpture, something that really questions your position as a spectator, and also being in this museum without a ceiling, being between the ground and the sky. How can you think about like almost a meteorologic phenomenon, as if she was translating a cartoon tornado into a real one. It was really something that the New Yorkers adopted. They really loved it.
So here, presumably, you worked with the curators at the High Line.
Yeah.
So does that often happen? Are there collaborative interchanges with other institutions?
Yes, it's a good question, because we are very much into the community of thinkers, makers, and it's very often that we approach an institution or get approached with the common idea to curate and commission together. And then it's really a conversation.
And to go back to the first thing I asked you about what's in it for the company, I mean, is there a promotional aspect? Do you require the artists to wear watches, to appear in advertisements? Is there any obligation on their part?
No, only possibilities. They are very welcome to wear a watch by Audemars Piguet if they wish. They are very welcome to attend events if they wish. The only thing we ask them to join are the moments when they will promote their own work. So a press conference, a meeting with journalists. Everything is about them and about people remembering their name. And in terms of promotional content, it's the standard of the industry, just our name appearing on documentation about the exhibition.
And do you own the work when it's done?
I guess we are more about the process than the property, and so we don't own the artworks. Once the commission is done, it belongs to the artist. And we consider it's interesting to offer to the desire of others these artwork to be exhibited or acquired. And I think it's really a second type of support to allow people also to acquire the work and to make it.
And you said you always have a second exhibition of the work. You always show it again.
Yes.
Can it be 5 years later or 10 years later?
Anytime. We are not living. So sometimes it's very soon after the first exhibition. For instance, at the moment we have on the High Museum in Atlanta an exhibition by Ryoji Ikeda. We've begun the collaboration in 2019. We're in 2025, and we continue exhibiting the work everywhere in the world. So it's really up to the others to adopt the work.
And last question for you really is, what kind of impact do you see this having for you as a company? Does it change the culture anywhere? Does it influence people to think in a different way?
I will give you a concrete example to answer your question, because I think it's not something you can imagine if you don't know that. One of the first artists we worked with was Robin Meyer, and because he was working on the hierarchy between insects on his commission, it had an important influence on the way one of the manufacturers we built was architecturally built. So the horizontal way of organizing the process of research and production was made following this project. So yes, it has an impact. Sometimes you can't really see or measure it. I think it's inspiration under all of its forms.
You said something yesterday, I'm just looking for it in my notes, about contemporary art can change one's life, and that was an important idea for you.
Yeah. It changed my life.
Yes.
So I hope for the others to be the same. Sometimes it can be just an exhibition that moves you so much that you just want to go home and write about it. Sometimes it's an artist you see and that you see, I want to work with him. And I really hope that our passion translates and that it changes lives. Yeah.
Thank you, Audrey. I think the clock was set back slightly, I'm happy to see. I thought I was running over time. So in fact, there are 2 minutes if anyone has a question for Audrey. It's hard to see with the lights. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
My name's Mimi Carter, and I'm from Chihuly Studio. Thank you very much for this conversation. But I do have to ask, what's the revenue driver? How does that work, and how does funding work for these very ambitious commissions that you're doing?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part.
The revenue driver. How do you, as a gallery, you're a commercial entity. So how do you, if it's a co-commission and you have a commercial aspect, but the museum is a nonprofit, the nonprofit is obviously raising money for the commission. How does this benefit the gallery?
The gallery, so we are...
Sorry, I assume Audemars...
No, there's no, I'm sorry, I should have actually said that in my introduction. There is no physical space that they have.
Oh,
all the projects are produced in whatever the appropriate place is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else? Well, then it remains for me to thank Audrey very much
Thank you very much
for this conversation, and thank you.
Thank you.